Welcome to Adhvaitha Decoding Reality podcast. In today's episode, I will talk about my favorite work of Adi Shankaracharya, and this is Nirvana Shatakam. I like Nirvana Shatakam because of its simplicity and directness. Within 6 simple verses, Adiguru Shankaracharya explains the nature of reality and the nature of self in a way that each and every one of us can understand it. So today, let us go deep and understand Nirvana Shatakam. Now to start, let us understand the meaning of Nirvana Shatakam. The word Nirvana refers to moksha, self-realization and enlightenment, and Shat refers to 6. So this text is talking about self-realization and the nature of self in 6 verses. Nirvana also refers to formless, and this text talks about the formless nature of the self in 6 verses. So now let's look at each verse one after the other to understand the meaning and essence of it. So the first verse of Nirvana Shatakam goes like this. Mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham na chashrotra jihve na chagrana netre na chavyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. Now let's look at the first part of it, which is Mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham. So here Shankaracharya is describing the mind. So most of us identify ourselves with our minds. If you ask me who I am, I would refer to my mind or my personality, and I would say I am Sujan. So Sujan is the name that I have given to my personality, and our personality comes from our mind, and our mind is called as the inner instrument or Anthakarana in Sanskrit, and this inner instrument has 4 parts to it. It has 4 aspects to it. And these 4 aspects are Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara and Chitta. Manas is the memory that we have gathered. Buddhi is the intellect. It is the intelligence through which we make different decisions. And Ahankara is ego or identity. It is an instrument through which we identify with different objects and we identify ourselves with this body. And then there is Chitta, which is reflected consciousness. It is filtered consciousness is referred to as Chitta. So these 4 are the aspects of our mind, and Shankaracharya is addressing this first because this is what we identify ourselves with. We think that we are this personality. I think that I am this person with this body and this mind. So Shankaracharya is telling us, I am not Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara and Chitta. I am not my memories. I am not my intellect. I am not my ego, which is this identity, and I'm not my mind, which is Chitta. In the next part, he is saying, Na chashrotra jihve na chagrana netre. Here he is describing the organs of sense perceptions. He is saying that I am not the organs of hearing, smelling, seeing and tasting. So he is saying that I am not the organs of sense perceptions. And then he says, Na chavyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu. Here is describing the Panchabhutas or the 5 fundamental elements from which this entire universe is made, which are fire, water, air, earth and space. So he is saying that I am none of these 5 elements and I am beyond these 5 elements. And in the last part of this verse, he is saying Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. He is saying that I am of the nature of consciousness and bliss, and I am Shiva, which is God himself. He is basically telling that I am God, Aham Brahmasmi. So this was the first verse. And in the first verse, he is basically disassociating the self from the mind and the senses. And he goes on to peel the different layers of identification, and at the end he will arrive at the true nature of the self, and he will explain the nature of that self. Now let's look at the second verse. The second verse says, Na cha prana samyo na vaipancha vayu na vasapta dhatur na vapancha kosha na vakpani padam na chopastapayu chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. Here he is saying that I am not the prana, the vital energy within the body which is responsible for keeping this body alive. And he is also saying I am not the pancha vayus, which are the 5 airs which keeps this body functioning. There are 5 different types or aspects of air within our system, and they each have a different function. One takes care of breathing, one takes care of excretion, and so on. And he is saying that I am none of these things. Then he says, Na va sapta dhatur, na va pancha kosha. The sapta dhatus are the 7 ingredients or the 7 building blocks of the body. These are your bone marrow, your blood, your genital fluids, your tissues, and so on. And he is saying that I am none of these things, and I am also not the pancha koshas. So Vedanta talks about the pancha koshas, which are the 5 sheaths that each of us have. The first sheath is the Annamaya kosha, which is this physical body that we can see. Second is the Pranamaya kosha, in which the chakras are associated with, and this is the energy body that we have. And then comes the Manomaya kosha, which is the mind in which thoughts and feelings, emotions happen. And then there is the Vijnanamaya kosha, which is the intellectual sheath through which we discriminate one object from another. So this is the function of the intellect. And then there is something called as the Anandamaya kosha, which is the bliss sheath, which is our most subtle sheath. And Shankaracharya is basically telling that I am none of these 5 sheaths. And then he says, Na vak pani padam na chopastapayu chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. He is saying that I am not my organs of action, which is my mouth, hands, feet, and so on. And at the end, he again says that I am the form of pure consciousness and bliss, and I am God himself. And coming to the next verse, the third verse, here he says, Na me dvesha rago, na me lobha mohau, madonaiva menaiva matsarya bhava, na dharmo na charto, na kamo na moksha, chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. The first part of this verse, Na me dvesha ragav, na me lobha mohau, basically says that I'm not these feelings of hatred, greed, and also there is no jealousy, pride, and delusion in me. And the next part of the verse, Na dharmo na charto, na kamo na moksha, chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham, says that I am not the purusharthas, which are dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are the 4 things to attain which all of us strive for. One is dharma, which is duty or morality. So each of us have a duty and morality when it comes to our profession, when it comes to our relationships. As a husband, we have a duty. As a son, we have a duty. So all of this comes under dharma, and artha refers to wealth. So we all strive to create wealth and abundance in our lives. This is artha. And then comes kama, which refers to lust, and moksha. Moksha refers to liberation or self-realization. So Shankaracharya is telling us that I am neither of these 4 attainments. So in the first verse, he talked about the mind and senses. In the second verse, he talked about the body. And in the third verse, he is talking about the emotions and attainments. He is telling us that I am not even moksha, which is liberation. Because that which is me, that which is truly me, which is that pure consciousness, is beyond liberation. Liberation is something which is required by the mind, not by the pure consciousness. Since I am that pure consciousness, and since I am not this body-mind unit, I neither need liberation, because my true nature is already liberated. This is what Shankaracharya is telling us. And at the end, he again says, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. Now coming to the 4th verse, here he says, Na punyam na papam, na saukyam na dukkham, na mantro na tirtha, na vedana yagna. Aham bhojanam naiva bhojyam na bhokta, chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. Here he is talking about the experiences. He is saying that I am beyond my experiences. Na punyam na papam refers to our karma. We all carry karmic memory within us. Punya refers to the positive karmic memory which is associated with our subtle bodies, and papa refers to the residual impressions of the negative actions from our past. And he's telling that I am none of these. And it also says that I am beyond pleasure and pain. And then he goes on to say, I don't need any mantras or scriptures or pilgrimage or rituals, because my true self is already pure. And then Aham bhojanam naiva bhojyam na bhokta chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham translates to I am neither the experiencer nor the experienced and nor the experience itself. So whatever we do, there are always three things: the object of experience, the subject of experience, and the experience itself. Now you're listening to this video. I am the object of your experience, you are the subject of the experience, and what you are watching or what you are seeing is the experience itself. Shankaracharya is basically telling us that I am neither of these things. I am neither the experiencer nor the experienced, and neither the experience itself. And he goes on to say, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. I am the nature of pure consciousness and bliss, and I am God Himself. The fifth verse goes like this: Na me mrityu shanka, na me jati beda, pitanaiva menaiva mata na janma, na bandhurna mitram gururnaiva shishya, chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. Here he is talking about the relationships. He is saying that I do not fear death, nor do I have death. I am also not bound by any caste, creed, or religion. I am beyond all that. And then he says, I have no father, no mother. I do not even have a birth because I was never born and I will never die. And then he says, I am not a relative, I am not a friend, I am not a teacher, I am not a student. I am beyond all that. I am the nature of pure consciousness and bliss. I am God Himself. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. The last verse summarizes everything beautifully and explains to us the nature of self and answers the question, who am I? The last verse goes like this: Aham nirvikalpo nirakara rupo vibhutvacha sarvatra sarvendriyanam nacha sangatam naiva muktirna meya chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. Let us take some time to decode this verse because this is a really important one. Here Shankaracharya says, Aham nirvikalpo nirakara rupo. Nirvikalpa means without any modification or duality. So he is saying that I do not have any modification of thoughts and emotions. I do not have any duality whatsoever. And nirakara rupa means I am formless. I do not have any form. And all these forms are at the level of the mind, not at the level of pure consciousness. And then he says, Vibhutvacha sarvatra sarvendriyanam, means that I illumine and I pervade all organs, which can also mean that all of these organs function because of me and they are illumined because of me. Nacha sangatam naiva muktir na meya, says that I am neither attached nor am I free. Sangatam means attached, Mukti means free. Here Shankaracharya is saying that I am neither attached to all these things nor am I free. Now here is a contradiction, right? Till now he was always saying I am not my body, I am not my mind, I am not these organs, not these emotions, I am not these relationships. He is saying I am none of these things. But at the end he is saying I am neither attached nor am I free from all this. What does it mean? This is a very important question because there are two steps for self-realization in Vedanta. Step one is what we went through till now, which is basically disidentifying our true self from all these external objects and physical body and mind and everything else that we did so far. But then what we need to realize is that if there is only one true existence and God only exists and pure consciousness only exists, then these organs and external objects are also a projection in that consciousness. And all these organs and objects and relationships are also me, but I am not them. So this is very tricky to understand, but here lies the key to understand the nature of reality. You are neither your body nor your mind, but that doesn't mean that your body and mind are something separate from you. You are pure consciousness and within you these body and mind exist. So since they exist within you, they are you. So nacha sangatam naiva muktir nameya refers to I am not attached, neither am I free, nor am I limited. So Shankaracharya is basically describing the nature of consciousness. What consciousness is can be understood by understanding this verse. And then he says, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. I am the form of pure consciousness and bliss, and I am God Himself. So I think by now you understand how profound this text is and how in simple language Shankaracharya is telling us who we truly are and how he is pointing us towards the nature of reality. So to summarize everything, what Advaita Vedanta tells us is that this world that we perceive is an illusion. The separation that we perceive and the duality that we see in this world is an illusion. The truth of this existence is simple. There is God and there is no one else. And that God is consciousness. Consciousness is what Advaita Vedanta calls as God. And this consciousness is in which all of these things are happening. And this pure consciousness has assumed the individual identity as you and me and has come into this world and is using this body and mind to experience itself. But once we realize ourselves as pure consciousness, and once we break away from our identification from our body and our mind, we realize the nature of reality for what it is. We will wake up from this dream and we will be one with that pure consciousness. That is the ultimate destiny for a human being. And Nirvana Shatakam is an amazing pointer towards that reality. And by continuously understanding it and repeating it as a mantra, we will digest this knowledge and we will realize who we truly are.